Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live session. I'm really excited about our chance to talk today because I know this is something that for many of you, you're concerned about. Many of you are thinking about. The reality is, many of us have either shifted to being online more. Maybe some people have started to increase their online presence. And for others, people are starting to kind of understand the value and the impact of being online, the impact of doing sessions like this where we're going live. And what's happening is everyone feels like everyone's online. And what can happen is when you start to feel like we're all there, when you start to feel like everyone's there, you can start to feel like we might be in a crowded space. You might be wondering, why would someone listen to me? Why would someone join my session? And what I want to do today is give you some reasons and also some recommendations on how not only can you stand out in this crowded space, but what you can do to start to truly develop your own voice. Now, I love doing these sessions and going live. So if you are joining us from any of our platforms, I'd love for you to just say hello. Let me know you're there. Let me know, hey, beloved Dillard, oh, so glad you joined us live. Great to see you there. I love to be able to connect with everyone when we're doing these live sessions. These are such great opportunities. Hey, Richie, great. Thanks so much for joining us. This is such a fun time for me to just chit chat with everyone really out there. Now, don't worry if you're listening to this as part of our podcast or you're listening to this as a recorded session. I'd love to know you're there as well. So please fill in the comments, even if you are watching this as a replay. But I'm so excited when we get to opportunity to kind of talk directly to everyone out there. Since many of us are still at home, many of us are not traveling, and this opportunity to really be able to chit chat and talk and see how everyone's doing, I just really love it, crave it sometimes, and really enjoy it. So thank you for all the people that are joining me live. Thank you for the people that are commenting. I'm seeing the comments come in. Thank you so much for joining. And let's keep that conversation going. I'm going to give some recommendations today. So if you have questions about the recommendations or why I'm saying try this or consider this, feel free to use the comments and I will answer your questions. I'll help you out or clarify anything that might not be 100% clear. All right. Oh, someone asked how I'm keeping or how I'm doing. I'm doing well. Things are a little bit crazy, I know, for many of us, but I think we're all balancing it. I have such a lovely community of vegan entrepreneurs that I get to work with, collaborate with, and even get to know that life has been great and I really can't complain. My family's safe and everything, and I really hope many of you out there are safe as well. So let's dive into today's topic. Let's talk about trying to stand out in this crowded space. What can we do? And the first thing I want to say is when you're trying to stand out, what I really want to make sure is that you're diversifying your approach when you're in this kind of live streaming, place where we're all online doing Zoom calls and sometimes streaming on social media. What I want you to do is make sure that your approach and the tools that you use are diverse. Now, I know it may sound like, what do you mean by diverse? When you're going live on multiple platforms, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, they all have a little bit different feel. You may even have different audiences on many of those platforms. So when you're thinking about trying to diversify, trying to stand out, what I want you to do is start to think about each of your channels, each of your marketing channels differently. I want you to start to think about, if I'm going to go live, if I'm going to share information, do I share things differently on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook? Do I share things differently when I go live on Instagram? And they don't have to be 100% different. I don't mean that everything has to be drastically different and you're always looking at a white sheet of paper when you're making these decisions. But what I want you to do is really sit down and make that decision early on. I want you to sit down and say, this is what I do on this platform and why. Now, for some of you out there, you may do what we do. And this is one of my favorite things to do, is that we simulcast our lives. Now, anyone out there simulcasting or doing anything like that? The reason I bring it up is because one of the best things about simulcasting is you get leverage. So you get to do one live session and it actually goes everywhere. Now, when I say that, what I mean is what we want to do is often when you're running a business, often when you're busy, often when you're trying to juggle all these things. And for many of us out there, we're shifting, we're pivoting, we're doing all new things in our business. So time is tight. Maybe you're still doing homeschooling. Maybe you have, a house full of people you have to cook for. Maybe anything that's going on in our lives, they tend to pull us away. We tend to be really busy these days. And plus, as we're adjusting, most of us are finding that we have less time on our hands. So therefore, when you think about going live, think about where can you get leverage and you can simulcast. Think about, can you actually do one live session that will publish to Facebook and to YouTube? Or if you're willing to pay, it gets a little expensive, you can actually simulcast through some software to like 5 different platforms at a time. And all simulcasting really means is that the video is visible to everyone. So it's 2 different strategies. Either one, you're actually going to go live differently in Facebook versus Instagram, or what you're going to do is simulcast. Both of those strategies work in your business. Both of those strategies can help you. One's a leverage strategy so that you can get a lot of content out to a lot of people at once. The other strategy is around making sure if your audiences are different on many of these platforms, what you can do is start to cater that message differently to that platform. The other thing I like to do to help people kind of stand out and diversify is make sure if you're going live, if in your toolkit is the idea of doing live streaming, of doing Zoom calls, of doing these things, is diversify the experience. How many of you out there are going live? I'm just curious whether you're watching this in a replay. I'd love to hear it as well. If you're with me live, let me know in the comments, how many of you have been brave enough to do live sessions like I'm doing now or planning to go live? I'm just curious, getting a quick pulse. So just put it in the comments. But I bring it up because often I think we fall into a rut when we think about going live, when we think about streaming. We pick kind of one lane and stay in that lane. If you're a, let's say, cooking instructor and you used to do cooking classes, what I find is for a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll only do almost like mini cooking classes and live sessions. And then while that's great, people need the tips, people need the help, people are excited about seeing you live. But what I would challenge you to do if you are a cooking instructor is sometimes go live while you're cooking. Sometimes go live and do what we call a cook along. So other people are going to be cooking with you. That means you have to send them the recipe in advance. Sometimes maybe do a co-host situation. So maybe you and a partner cooking instructor, maybe you and one of your students, and both of you join the live session. So you're both live from your kitchens, cooking the same recipe and talking about the experience, talking about what's happening, talking about what you're doing, and even some techniques that you might do differently. What happens is now your content becomes different. Your content can have variety, as well as you can look at the results from those different live sessions and see which ones get more engagement. Which ones are being shared more often? Which ones are creating more comments? So this is a great way for you not only to make your live sessions different, fun, interesting, diverse. Hey, Emma, thanks for joining. But it's also a great way for you to find different ways to truly connect with your audience. I love also doing Q&As. Sometimes when I do these sessions, I'll just say, if anybody has a question about ABC topic, they can come to my live session and ask a question. It's kind of like an Ask Me Anything segment, but normally I have the twist where I normally try to stay around a specific topic. But what I really love about those sessions is it allows me on the fly to give people feedback and ideas and allow people to interact with me in a way that would feel like a real time, like a real life experience. Meaning if someone met me on the street or at a conference, or we bumped into each other at a veg fest and they had a question, I would just answer it naturally. Where most of us, when we're doing these live sessions, we're getting all prepared and creating notes and doing bullet points and all that good stuff. And while I love being prepared, and I think it's really important to be prepared, what I want many of you to do is not get bogged down by that, not get caught in the idea that everything has to be very structured. Because what live is supposed to feel like, live is supposed to, is the experience is as close as you can get to what a real life experience would be. So make sure you diversify. Make sure you try different things. Maybe one time you're going to do a screen share, especially if you're a coach, or maybe you want to show people your new website. Let's say, for example, many of you have pivoted your businesses and you've decided that, okay, I used to have people coming into the store, coming into the restaurant, coming into the area to pick up items. Maybe you're still doing curbside pickup, but in addition to that, you want people to be able to navigate the website. You've changed the website, you've added new products, since all of this has been growing on in our world. And because of that, if you created a live session where you shared your screen and showed people how to navigate the new site, how easy it is to find the items, how to set up a curbside pickup, or if you're doing shipping now and you didn't do shipping before, showing people how they can use, buy, and access your product will go a long way. And I don't mean that in a super salesy, slick way. I mean that in a helpful way. I think sometimes we forget that we make all these bells and whistles and changes to our businesses and our brands, and we make everything look all beautiful and polished, but it doesn't mean people know what to do. It doesn't mean people know how to get the products and service they love, to get the support that they need. And live sessions like these can help you do that. Maybe you don't do a website session all the time, but maybe once a month if you do update your website a lot. If you're adding a lot of content to your website, you can review and let people know how to get into that content. If you have new products coming out each month, doing a live session and showing people where to find them, what the new products are, and the new services can really go a long way. And it's a great way, especially in this day and age, for you to not only diversify the experience, but ultimately allow people to get closer to you. Just like if they were in a room with you and you were showing them the website and you guys were sharing a mouse, that kind of feeling is what we're trying to make sure you're getting across as you're doing more and more of these live sessions. The other thing I want to suggest is, as you're trying to stand out, as you're trying to diversify, what I want you to do is make sure you try something new every single month. Now, I know for some of you, you're like, Stephanie, I just got into this live thing. I just started in March, or I just got it together in April. I've done a couple of them. What do you mean try something new? Everything feels new. And that's fine. If you're just getting started and it feels new for you, I'm not trying to push you. What I'm trying to do is inspire you and make sure that you feel free to try things, to make sure you feel comfortable enough to say, for this session, I'm going to use the comments. I'm going to ask people questions and have them post things in the comments. I'm going to bring them up on the screen. I'm going to engage in those comments and see how that goes. It takes a little bit of skill and time to be able to do it, to be able to read and keep your eyes focused. So it takes some time. So that may be your try. That may be what you may be testing next month. I don't want you to think when I say diversify or test something new, I mean you're doing something, crazy new. I have a whole different background and I'm in a different location. That's not what I'm saying. What I want you to do is make sure that what you're doing every month, you're trying to make it incrementally better. And I don't mean because we're chasing this unobtainable dream of being perfect online. What I mean by that is when you start, I don't want you to try to be perfect. If you've been doing it for a while, I don't want you to feel like it has to be like this, only this, and in a box. What I want you to kind of take away from today and a way for you to stand out is to make sure that when you're looking at your previous live sessions, as you're getting started and getting into your rhythm, that you start to kind of give yourself space and time to do something different, to try something each month to make the experience for the people that are watching, the people that are interacting with you, and the people that are really excited about you going live, that you continue to make that a better experience. Once again, not going to perfection, just making it incrementally better each time so you feel more comfortable on camera. So people feel like you are more approachable and they can interact with you and engage with you. And I really think that can make a difference. All right. Anybody listening right now or watching now, anything that you've thought about trying on a live session or a Zoom session and maybe was a little bit nervous about, or is anyone out there going to take this recommendation at heart and going to commit to me right now today that you're going to try something new next month? Let me see if I have any brave souls put anything in the comments. If not, if you're feeling a little bit shy, don't worry. You can just jot it down on your own sheet of paper. But I do want to make sure that you're constantly challenging yourself to go to that next level. All right. And then the other thing I want to talk about is when you go live, often, and I mentioned this earlier, when you go live, many of us will go live in Facebook as an example. And that's it. That Facebook session has been published. It's on Facebook. And we kind of like, say, okay, I'm done. I checked the box. I've gone live. And that's good. I want you to do that. That's the first thing. I don't want to hold you back from it. But what I want you to think about today is think about how do you share that content in different ways? Can you download that video from Facebook and upload it and share it in your YouTube channel? Just think about it for a minute. Now what's happening is you're taking that content that you put on Facebook and you're giving it new distribution, giving it new life, a new way that a person can get access to it. If you're doing a live session, do you ever send out an email to your list and say, hey, I went live on Facebook. Not sure if you missed it. Here's a link to it. Sometimes what I like to do is sometimes if I've gone live, I'll wait until I've gone live like 2 or 3 times, and then I'll send out an email with kind of a screenshot image. It has a little play button on it. And in the email, I may have 3 different live sessions, and a person can click on any one of those or all of them and go and watch the live. And what's happening is now, instead of my live just having kind of the ability to just reach people through Facebook or just reach people through the actual platform I started with, I'm able to now share it with my broader audience. It becomes a tool that I can connect with people. And it also becomes a tool that has a little bit longer life shelf. If you think about our shelf life, sorry about that. You think about it, when things go into Facebook, sometimes they just go through the feed and after a while, they just get pushed down, pushed down, pushed down, and people don't always discover it. But if you're going to send people to that, it's really going to make a difference. The other thing we're testing, and the data's still out on this, so I love to share things that I'm testing and trying, is we're starting to use these live sessions as podcasts. So what I'm doing is when I do a session like this today, afterwards, I'll download the file. So I'll have a video version of this, but I'll also download an audio version. Now I'm using software in the background to help me do it. I'll tell you what software I use. You don't have to use the software I'm using because the software I'm using is a little bit expensive. But remember, when I first started, I used the free program. I used that for almost a year before I upgraded to the paid version. So I always want you to start with free software before you go for the bells and whistles. But what I've done with this software is this software allows me to get 2 versions of this file. So now after I finish today's session, within like 5 minutes of me ending this live, I can hit a button, download the audio, upload the audio to our podcasting software, hit publish, and people can listen to it on iTunes. They can listen to it on Shopify. They can listen to it on, Google. I forget all the other platforms that we're on. But the idea is it's a distribution. So once I distribute it, it's everywhere. And what's great about that now is I have not only that leverage piece that we were talking about earlier. What I'm starting to do is take content and share it in different ways so people can experience in different ways. Some people love the video format, but some people love podcasts and would listen to maybe this segment today while they're taking a walk, while they're running. And what I want to do is be able to take this content and allow people to be able to consume it, interact with it in their way, in the way that they want to do it. Another thing that we're starting to do, and this is our next step in the process, is we're going to start sharing the transcripts to some of these live sessions because some people still like to read it. They still like to go through the details. And what happens is I can take this audio, get it transcribed, put it on our website, and someone can read through that information. Now, it may need a little bit of editing because, the way we talk isn't always the way we write. But the idea is I can repurpose the content. I can either pull out a segment of this and turn it into a blog post and say, here's a snippet of what we talked about. Here are some of the quick bullet points. But if you want to watch the full segment, here's a link to YouTube where you can watch it. And that's what I want you to start thinking about. When you're trying to diversify, when you're trying to stand out, start to think about how you can use your live sessions in totally different ways, how you can share them in different platforms, how you can share them in different medium or different ways to allow people to consume your content in a way that they're going to enjoy. What do you guys think? Anybody out there think they might try it? Oh, I forgot to mention the software. So the software that I use when I do live sessions is a software called StreamYard. I'll actually update the description to this post and put a link in there for you guys. And StreamYard, like I said, is completely free. When you go free, you can stream live to one account. But if you're in the mood, you can always upgrade and pay. And when you pay, that's when you can do the simulcasting. But like I said, I used this software for almost a year before I upgrade it. So make sure you do that because I don't want you guys to feel like you have to make any big investments to make all this work. Okay? Because also when you do go live on something like Facebook, you can always download the file. And then there's plenty of software tools online that will allow you to transcribe or pull the audio out or even do a transcription of a video. So that's the way you can do it. Cool. All right, Emma, glad you're saying that you're going to do it. I love it when people kind of get inspired about this. And Emma, I always love it when you come to these sessions and support us. So it's good to see you. All right. I have a couple more things. I know I'm keeping you guys a little bit longer than I normally do, but as you can tell, I'm excited. I'm having a good time. I hope you are too. So I want to make a couple of other points. For a lot of people, they're wondering the difference between Zoom and StreamYard. Now I'm using Zoom as a kind of in a generic sense. There's other platforms out there like WebEx and so forth. But the idea of if you have a kind of invite-only environment when someone's coming to like a traditional webinar, that's what people are using for Zoom. Or maybe you have a paid or closed class that people are coming into Zoom. And that's how most people have been using it, maybe for meetings. However, as our worlds have expanded, as we've started to do more and more things online, and because a lot of these tools interact, what happens is the lines get blurry. You start to say, well, I saw a Zoom on YouTube. So is that live streaming or is that Zoom? So I just wanted to clarify that because this is something that will help you from a diversification standpoint. So in my mind, a Zoom is a Zoom session. But what's great about Zoom is Zoom will allow you to broadcast that session to Facebook or YouTube. And I really love doing that for anything that's my free content. That's my content that I'm using for educational purposes, that I'm helping people with, that I want them to have exposure to. Because what happens is by having kind of my standard session, let's say a webinar, I have people on my list that are registering. I'd love to know who's registering, who's available, who's interested, because I can send them follow-up messages. But what I also want to do is because I'm creating that content, I want to reach as big of an audience as possible. So by broadcasting my webinar on YouTube or on Facebook, you can only do one or the other. What happens is my content is allowing me to reach a larger audience. Now, there's some tricks and things to do. You can broadcast the entire event or some of it. This is an amazing tool. I had one of my clients was doing. I actually learned it from her. So I thought it was so brilliant. And what a lot of people will do is maybe the first half, the first 20 minutes, a certain portion of it, they'll broadcast. So the larger group can enjoy it, access it, get that information. But then you end the YouTube or the Facebook live streaming, and jump back into your core Zoom group for two different reasons. What I love about Zoom is Zoom can be more intimate. Like right now, I'm kind of talking towards you and you have to type back, which I love. I love the comments. I love seeing you guys type. But in Zoom, I can have you on camera. I can unmute you and we can talk. So when I want to have a little bit of a mix of a broadcast feel and an intimate segment, I'll do a session where it's a split session like that. 20 minutes broadcast, the rest is just for the people that registered. And the people that registered, what I'll do is not just only switch from traditional presentation mode, but switch into more of a conversational mode. So I'll teach something, but then once we're kind of not broadcasting anymore, I'll start opening up the floor, opening up the cameras, opening up the mics, and start having conversations. Start asking people questions, asking people if they want me to show them something or do a screen share or go deeper into a conversation. So that way, there's a benefit for registering and being a part of my Zoom call because you get more of that kind of intimate environment. You get an opportunity to become a little bit more in that Q&A mode and make sure you're not just learning from what I'm saying, but you can actually truly digest it and move forward. Because if you have a question, if there's something that you're like, I need a little clarification on, I can do that for you in that more intimate setting in Zoom. Does that make sense to you guys? What do you think? Have you thought about doing that? Would you consider doing it? Are you a little nervous about it? Let me know in the comments. I'm just curious what you guys think. But I find it's another great way to diversify the experience between a lot of the live, a lot of the Zooms and things like that we're doing. And also, it's a great way for you to be able to kind of give people, especially in this environment right now where we're going heavy digital and they're going digital so fast for some people who are not maybe used to it, that by having a little bit more of that personal, intimate touch, it can make this experience for a lot of people feel more and more natural and feel more and more like we talked about, like if a person was sitting in front of you and you were just chit-chatting during the day. All right. And then the last thing I just want to point out is when I want to diversify, especially for something like going live or streaming live, I love doing sessions that are just check-ins, that are quick pulses. So what we'll do sometimes is instead of having like a pre-scheduled time that I'm going to go live, that we're going to go through content and information, what I'll do is I'll just pop on. I'll just go live randomly in the middle of the day or on a Tuesday, a Saturday, and I'll just give people an update on what's going on. I'll ask people how they're doing. I'll let them know if we're trying something or testing something new, or if I want to get quick feedback. And what happens is this diversifies our content. This is something that creates a more informal format. And it's also something that I can do anytime. So it doesn't make me kind of back in that box that we talked about. And that's what I love. I love being able to have a diverse approach. I love being able to do things differently for different reasons. And I also love the idea that I can start to communicate with different people differently so I can better serve my community, better serve the people that I support and try to help. So that's it. Those are your tips for today on how to stand out, how to really diversify and use these tools in different ways, how to get leverage, and ultimately make sure that you're kind of cutting through some of the noise of, or even the feeling of feeling like everybody's online. And the idea is you are in the driver's seat. You're in control because you can diversify. You can make changes. You can try different platforms. You can do cook-alongs. I love in Instagram when you can have like two people on Instagram and we both can be in the session and everyone's watching us. So it's almost like we're just dialoguing and talking with each other. So make sure you get comfortable with these platforms. Make sure you understand how different they are and how they can work for you. And make sure you do that leverage because I really think you'll be able to stand out more. These sessions will feel more natural and they'll make it easier for you. All right. So thank you everyone for today's session. I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has given you some ideas, some inspiration. And I also hope this has made you feel a little bit more confident about either jumping in to going live, jumping into this digital space with more confidence, and also understanding that there's room for you, there's room for your voice, there's room for you to share and help the world. People want to hear it. People want to know what you're doing, what you're working on. Yes, in the beginning, you may start and there's only 3 people on their live session. Don't sweat that. Give those 3 people all your attention, all your energy, because they deserve it. They showed up. And what will happen is those 3 people will tell 3 more people, and the numbers will start to grow from there, as well as you'll get better and better at the session while you have a small crowd, small loyal crowd. And what you can do is build your way there. You can continue to share your secret sauce. You can continue to talk about what you do, what you're thinking about, talk about different content, talk about different topics, and also connect and better serve your audience. So with that, we will wrap up today's session. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you so much for the comments. Love having people here live, but also if you watch this from a replay, love to hear your thoughts, your commitment, and maybe how this segment might have helped you. All right, bye everyone.